who wants to attend. I had 20 people at the state convention. Wow, what is worth.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
You said your two goals were, your two principles were relational and informational?
Yep.
And so under informational, have you found that people are asking about House bills, Senate bills, and legislative progress?
Well, Tom Novus puts out some beautiful information on that on a regular basis, and I share that. I've gotten feedback that people like that. There's a number of people that do. So yeah, people are definitely interested for sure. Yes, ma'am.
This is awesome, so thank you so much. So I'm just curious, were you able to make headway into the independent group? Do you have,
Yeah.
what's your percentage as far as?
So I've just started that process. So I've blown through most of my red doors, probably not all of them, a lot of them for the last couple of years. And so I'm just kind of starting that process. That's why I don't know if I'll be able to use the campaign psychic. I don't know if they'll have that on there. So my hope is to go through those. Initial experience this past weekend is definitely rough.
Definitely what?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Can you add information to Sidekick?
I don't know.
You can't.
Okay.
August the 4th, for those of you that are in the Katy area, the Katy precinct teams meetup will have a speaker. His name is John Douglas. He's going to take you in depth into campaign cybersecurity.
One last thing. Anybody that wants help, I'm available to help. So if you want my phone number, I'll pass on my phone number if you want to write it down if you're interested. So my phone number is 281-650-3539. So if anyone is interested, I'll be more than happy to help.
And our next speaker is none other than Mark Galladay on your favorite subject, tax reduction.
All right. Some people might be a little bit dismayed what I'm going to show you and what we're going to be talking about. As you know, we talked a lot at the convention, right? About property taxes. You had a lot of people running around with tax and all these other things. We're going to eliminate property taxes, okay? And I love the idea. I mean, obviously, get rid of all of them, right? That's the whole idea. But we need to solve property tax dilemma, right? You've got two issues. You have the appraisal system that's unaccountable, and then you've got the whole rate setting that is also, primarily unaccountable. So, as you know, this is Churchill describing Russia. I felt like that's probably the best thing to talk about with property taxes. So again, let's eliminate property taxes. But here, folks, all right, be careful what you ask for, okay? The alternatives are not going to be very appealing. I will not be able to get into a whole lot of it because of my time limitations, but I'll hopefully get the chance with Gail's graces to come out a little bit more in depth. So, you want to eliminate property taxes, the first question you're going to have to do is decide of, well, how much do you want to pay in sales tax? Okay? That's going to be a big issue. Bonds, okay? So you're going to go through this, we're eliminating property taxes. Every bond in the state of Texas now is going to go to Austin to get paid off, and you're going to have to cover all those bonds with sales tax. Okay? And that means you're going to have to go through there. You're going to be paying for Austin bonds. You're going to be paying for El Paso bonds. You're going to be paying for Tampa, Texas bonds. Okay? And of course, there'll be one to come here and pay for our stadiums and Dallas stadiums, all those kind of things. But all the bonds are going to be sucked up, and we're going to have to absorb that in some kind of a sales tax rate. This is one, because I sat down and I went to the presentation that I do have with Don Huffines, and we sat down and I said, every entity, and even Don, as you know, he campaigned on this issue, all right? Every entity goes to Austin for funding. And he looked at me and said, yeah, we kind of recognize that. He didn't have an answer. He just realized the problem. So now, your MUD, your school districts, everybody, if you think Austin is a cesspool today, wait until everybody. Think about how the Port of Houston is going to go to Austin for money, and so will a hospital district in El Paso. How's that going to be balanced? Because again, all the money is going to be. So these are things to think about. I mean, we do need to fix property taxes, but this idea of, let's just eliminate it, okay? is just not a realistic plan. We need to put together a realistic plan that is going to work. Let's see, so while you pay for your property taxes, you also think about this. And the rate is gonna be pretty high, right? You're sitting there talking about 15 cents, you're talking about, start throwing in bond debt and everything else. I mean, you're being paid 25 cents for every dollar you spend, okay? So now you're sitting there going, wow, every time I go out to spend something, I'm gonna have another 25 cents on it, okay? If it goes to that route and gets up to about 30 to 35, I'm gonna move to Orange, Texas. I'm gonna become a smuggler to work for Jim Louie. If you'll work for me, okay? So, the other thing is now let's think about this. Oh, we're gonna do this, we're gonna spread this tax out, we're gonna have this big consumption tax. You go to the store, you buy your box of Tide, right? You pay your money, you pay your dollar, you pay your extra 15, 30, 20 cents, okay? Boom. Right next to you is somebody with an EBT card. He's gonna pay his dollar, but his 15 cents. So now you're paying for your sales tax and you're paying for the sales tax increase of what he's gonna be buying, okay? So we're not really helping you spread this out, it's just concentrating it more and more on the sales issue. So it's very, very important that we consider, again, we have to go through there. I know Mike is, I'm sure hearing a ton about it, and we have to do fix. But let's go through and take a look at it, and let's really study how we're gonna be able to go through there and fix it, and be able to actually do something on property tax and property tax relief. Hopefully, Huffman will be able to do something there. Where you really have to look at the appraisals. I think the big issue there is let's go through and have appraisal districts elected instead of appointed by all the tax collectors. They've got to give some transparency, some accountability back to the voters on it. And then I think the other thing that we're looking at, and I can't get into it, are some other things that we can do, and that's not me. So, anyway, also, I didn't see Johnny T coming in yet. Okay. Well, at his church on the August the 5th, August 6th, 6 o'clock, we've got to sign up for Mind Polluters. I'm sure everybody in here has seen Mind Polluters, I guess. So this is going to premiere in A-Leaf, right? This is the premiere in A-Leaf. So I haven't been shown in that area, and that'll be at Johnny Teague's church on August the 6th. If you can't come by, it's free and everything else. Come by and see the movie and a little bit more on what's happening on that school. And thank you, sir, for your
Thank you. You bet. So our next speaker is in Houston city limits. Some of you may not reside within Houston city limits, but I know Mills Worsham does. So those of you in, well, actually you don't need to be in Houston city limits because you can support this candidate from anywhere. Help me welcome Charles.
Good evening, everyone. And Gail, thank you for giving me some time to talk tonight. I definitely appreciate it. So it's always good to come to West Houston. I always enjoy it. I have a lot of family in River Oaks, have a lot of family in a little bit of Sugar Land, and a little bit in Katy. And my aunt just got a house in Bolster. So she's like, Charles, you're gonna come and visit me? I said, absolutely. As long as I spend my weekends with you. So I'm happy about that. So I'm running for Houston City Council. And for a lot of you all know that 2022 is really important, which kind of tees up 2023. That's actually the reason I'm here tonight. We know that for us to be successful for later on this year, we have to win across the entire city. And there are 3 races that's kind of put folks' mind and thought process around, which is one, we have our county judge race, we have our clerk's race, and we have our district race. District clerk race is also coming up this year. And we know we want to be successful obviously in 2024, we definitely be successful in 2023, and also very successful in the next 103 days, which is when, does anyone know when 103 days happens in 103 days?
We're gonna take the house.
I would love that. That would be fantastic. But we're early voting happening in about like 88 days, 89 days, and obviously we have election day on 103 days, which is coming down. So when I was a kid, it's funny, my dad would just say, you know, Charles, don't try to boil the ocean at one time. And I'm like, yeah, I want to boil the ocean, but let's start very small. And starting small is starting with our SD, which is starting here in SD 17. So my precinct is 178, which is, anyone know geography, but obviously what's happening, we're all getting moved around a little bit. But it's essentially where Richmond and Newcastle is. If you're close to Beltway 610 in Richmond, I'm like 2 blocks from there. And I've been in Houston, living in Houston for the last 10 years. And a little backstory with my parents, both my parents are immigrants, they came to America in the 70s. And my mom, she came to America, she moved to Texas, my dad was in Michigan. And And my dad was the type of guy who's like, I'm gonna stay in school as long as I can. So he meets my mom in Texas, and I was like, you need to get a job. And I joke, because we talk about this every year. My dad was like, yeah, I never liked working, I just love being in school. So he had a bunch of degrees. Ended up moving to DC, worked in the White House, and after college I came back to Texas. I love Texas, Texas home. When I used to come in the summertime and spend my summertime here, my dad was like, Charles, put on a new shirt. You're sweating through your shirt in 2 or 3 hours. But Texas home for me. So I've been here for the last 10 years, so super excited about that. I was super excited to serve my community, but also get ready for SD17. And as you all know, I was at the convention, and I'm looking at the weird map for SD17. I'm like, oh, we have a lot of work to do, especially with 29 precinct chairs to kind of work on. So my job from here until November 8th is one, support our candidates who are working, obviously support SD17, but support our chair. Gail has a huge lift in front of him from now until November, and our job is support him. So thank you all. I will leave some business card, hopefully chat with you all. First of many times you'll see me, but being here is my job and something that I appreciate. Is there a question?
What district do you run?
So I'm not announcing which district I'm running until January 1st of next year. Just give some folks some background. We have 2 good advocates. Obviously, we have a lot of council members and at-large folks who are advocates, but 2 that are leaving us because they're turned out. One is Councilmember Knox and one is Councilmember Kubash. Folks that I think that are great representative of our values.
So they're at large, so you're gonna run for an at-large seat?
Yes, I'm running for at-large.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, may I say that also? So my district actually falls in District G. So my council member is Councilmember Marion. She's amazing. She does a great job, represents our community very well. So I'm super excited about how her, and also will continue supporting her as the time moves forward. But I'm running for at-large. Yeah. Okay, hopefully I was under 5 minutes.
How do you say your last name?
Okay, it's pronounced An Wu Che, but you can call me Charles. But it's pronounced An Wu Che. An Wu Che. Yes. And everyone gets it wrong on a Monday morning, but a Friday night, everyone gets it right. And I'm trying to understand how
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Oh.
We have Dr. Johnny T. The unmade it yet, so we're gonna move on to other candidates, and we will give 5 minutes to our state representative, Mike Schofield.
I'm always smart enough to take instructions from my precinct chairs, so the first thing I'm going to do is get your email. Those of you who haven't been getting my newsletters, and there's one coming out next week, I want you to whip this out. You all got one. Probably couldn't have found your way here without it. Whip out your cell phone and send an email to Mike Schofield for Texas @gmail.com. Mike, M-I-K-E, Schofield, S-C-H, don't forget the H, O-F-I-E-L-D, F-O-R, Texas, my God, I hope we can all spell Texas, @gmail.com. And we will get you on the list and send you, this is not so much a political thing as it is updates on everything from when we're going to vote on key bills to, in this case, you're going to find out about a meeting we're getting from TxDOT about the widening of 529. So any of you who live out here, and Mills, you need to move to my district. Anybody who lives out here, 529 has been a 2-lane country road. It's a farm to market road. That's why it's called FM 529. That's not going to be the case anymore. This thing is going to a 6-lane. It's going to look like 1960. And before too long, it's going to look exactly like 1960. So you all ought to come on out. They had technically, TxDOT had done what they call a hearing. I call it a science fair. You go into the room and there's no meeting, so no one can grab the mic and protest and take over. And they just had different stations with different parts of the project you can learn about, and you can ask questions. They have TxDOT people in each area so they can explain. If the apartment in front of your house, you want to ask about that, you can go do that. And they had done one. You may recall I took a little vacation after the 2018 election. Beto's people saw it. Well, the person that was kind enough to keep the seat warm for me, when they had, they usually love telling me. So they had technically a hearing, no one came. And when I said, and then they announced they were gonna move forward with the project, and I said, we need to have a hearing, and they go, oh, we had one. And I'm like, really? I live here and I didn't know about it. And so they were gonna do, they said we had one. And I kind of persuaded on them, as I want to do, that they ought to have another one. And I persuaded kind of longly and loudly until they decided we're gonna have another one. So sometime in late August, next month, they're gonna have a meeting, haven't picked a place yet. As soon as they pick a place and a time, they'll tell us, and then I will tell you, because you've all signed up for the newsletter, you all know about it. So even if you don't live in my district, it's important because I vote on all the same bills as all the other state reps. So even if you live in a different district, it's okay to get our newsletter and find out what's going on. And usually if a hurricane hits House District 132, it also hits all the other ones, so it'll be all right. I don't want to take up too much time. I was really just here to keep the thing warm until Johnny got here, but I'm going to mention two things about what you just heard about from Mark on property taxes. And you heard him say, you know, if you got rid of it, everybody come to Austin for money, and that might have just kind of swung by something. What he's talking about is our local governments are funded largely, if not almost entirely in a lot of instances, by the property tax. None of your property tax goes to the state. We don't spend any. It funds cities, counties, and predominantly school districts. And so if you got rid of it, all those entities would have to go somewhere for funding. So what he's saying is they go to the legislature and go, gimme, as opposed to dealing with you folks. The other thing is he mentioned you'd have to have a higher sales tax. I believe it was TATARA, the Texas Taxpayer and Research Association. They estimated if we just eliminated the property tax, the sales tax would be 23%. So that probably isn't going to happen. What we are going to do is some things to make, in the short term, when we figure out what we can do long term, we're going to make things a little more reasonable. I have a bill, currently, everybody thinks we freeze seniors' property taxes. If any of you are seniors, you realize that's not true. What we do is, ever since we first had our first statewide property tax bill in 1978, we freeze the part of your taxes that goes to schools. Yeah. At the time, that was the lion's share. Now it's about half, because the counties and the cities and every bloody special purpose district known to man, we have 9 different types of water districts. They all are in there, and those aren't frozen. And I literally will knock on doors of senior citizens, and they'll tell me, hey, I love you, I'll vote for you, but I got to retire in 2 years, and I'm going to be moving to northern Arkansas because I can't afford to stay here. That's right. So I have a bill that would freeze not just the school portion, but all of the seniors' property taxes. I also have a bill that will change your homestead exemption from being a flat dollar amount. We just raise it to $40,000, and then inflation will eat away at that, to a percentage. So if your house, if they tell you your house has gone up by 8%, your homestead exemption goes up by 8%, right? With this year, not 8 years from now when the legislature fixes it. And then the final thing on that I'm filing a bill on property taxes. This tool a lot of people don't know senior citizens have. You can abate all of your property taxes. You can just say, I'm not paying. Now, doesn't mean you're not paying forever.
Right.
When you pass away or sell the house, the state comes for, or the local governments all come for their share. I got to get off. They come for their share, and what you do is you pay back the amount out of the sale proceeds plus 5% a year. My bill would say prime lending rate plus 1%, no more than 5%, so that we're not killing you. If we're going to have a tool like this for you to use, let's make it so you can actually use it. So when interest rates were 1%, you know, let's make it 2%, not 5%, compounded yearly. So there are things we can do to make property taxes at least not as onerous as they've been until we figure out a better system that can fund everything we're doing going forward. Thank you very much. I'm Mike Schofield. I would want all of you to knock on doors for me because I need to get reelected, and I'd appreciate your help.
Our next speaker, John, is going to be Dr. Johnny T. for Congressional District 7.
Yay! Great job. Good to see you. I look better on paper than I do live. I admit that. sorry for being a little bit late. I was at a Houston City prayer meeting downtown on the square. I led a group in prayer for our government officials to be what they ought to be. And so I made it. I wanted to tell you 4 quick stories, and I'm going to be within my 5-minute limit. Door knock 230 homes every day. My knees are killing me, but we are after it. We are fighting, and things are looking good. I raised cattle, and I just had to sell 2/3 of my herd Tuesday because of the drought. I called the Hamilton Meat Market because I'm going to butcher a calf. And when I called them, I go, I need a date for January because by then I'll have it fattened up and it'll be ready to butcher. And they go, well, we can't really give you a date in January. I go, well, why not? Is it that backed up? And these small butchers, it's way backed up. You have to get in almost a year in advance. I go, so is it that far backed up? Oh, no, it's not that far backed up. We'll get you on the list, but I can't guarantee January. I go, well, what do I need to do to get guaranteed someday? And she goes, I'll be honest with you. This is the most successful butcher place near my farm. I don't think we'll be open in January. I said, why? She said, Johnny, I'll be honest with you, we need 14 employees. We only have 4. She said, I can't get anybody to work because they're making more than $14 an hour on COVID money, unemployment money, welfare, whatever else. That's what government does. We are killing our productivity as a nation because of government interference. Next story, Randy Cook. Goes to my church. Randy Cook is 74 years old, filed for Social Security, has worked his whole life for Social Security. Randy had a health issue when he was 16 or 17. He doesn't remember when it was. His parents, for some reason, had to take Social Security out to help with Randy. I guess they thought he was going to be disabled. His parents got SSI for a year on Randy. 48 years ago, Randy told me today, or this Sunday at church, Johnny, the next 2 months are going to be hard. I go, why? He goes, the government's taking my government check for the next 2 months because of what they overpaid my parents 48 years ago. That's what government can do. Wow. Let me take you real quick to a Republican lady I called. I'm trying to raise money for the campaign. We'll pass the offering plate here in a minute. And I called a lady in Dallas, Texas, big giver, and I visited with her about my campaign. And she said, Johnny, I'll be honest with you, I'm no longer giving and I'm no longer voting. I said, why not? She said, because after 2020, I earnestly believe there's fraud. I do not believe my vote counts, and I'm done with it. Now, I tried to do everything I could because I believe no matter what you think about 2020, we must fight. We've got to fight for our country. They fought in 1776. We've got to fight today. Last story, I'm door knocking. I meet a sweet African-American fella. He's a truck driver sitting in his garage. He even has the truck driver headphone on while he's talking in his garage. I go, what are you up to? Because I'm talking to 3 of my truckers buddies. I go, I don't want to disturb you. I just need your, no, I want to talk to you, and my guys want to hear what you have to say. I go, all right. So I begin to visit, and he goes, Johnny, here's my problem. He goes, I can't afford the gas, the diesel, to drive the truck for my rig. He says, I can't borrow because when the government shut us down over COVID, he goes, I couldn't make enough money to run my truck and pay my child support. He said, because I couldn't pay my child support in full during the COVID shutdown, I now can't borrow money to get me over this hump. That's what government that's incorrectly run does for us. So I'm running for Congress because we have got to change that. I believe every one of you could go to Washington today and you would let them have an earful. And I believe you'd be effective. I believe as a preacher I'd have to cover my ears because some of the expletives you would throw out. But I believe you would make a difference. The sad thing is you can't all go to Washington. So what do? We vote for somebody to go in our place. So I'm asking you to vote for me to go in your place so we can straighten things out. And I appreciate your help in your neighborhoods. Love that you listened to me. Forgive me for being late. Back to you, Brother Dale.
Go ahead.
Gil, this is Galabi's fault, not mine. We're showing mind polluters at my church August 5th at 6 p.m. If y'all want to see what the corrupt bull they're teaching in our schools and how to go against it, feel free to come to Church of the Cross. Back to you, Dale. That's on you, brother.
One of the most important individuals in a senatorial district is the one that serves on the executive committee for the Texas Republican Party. And we have representatives from each one of the SDs. This evening, our representative from SD 17 is Roman Klein. Roman?
Before you get to Roman, may I just say something else about Johnny's race? Lizzie Fletcher.
Hold on a second, Nancy. Come on up where we can get you on camera here, man.
Lizzie Fletcher can make you feel like she is your best friend. She is going to do everything for you that you want. You come away from talking with her, going to a town hall meeting, you feel so good. I have gone to some of her meetings and infiltrated and listened. I sat next to her mother at one of them. Oh, yes, great daughter. But I saw Republicans there. And they were signing up for her. And I said, why? Because she believes in us. She's going to do everything for us. Look at her voting record. She will tell you she's going to do something. Nancy Pelosi can tell every one of these congressmen, it's safe for you to vote against this bill because it's going to pass anyway, and you can go back to your district and say, I voted against this bill. She really didn't vote against the bill. It was just that it was safe. So be careful with what you get coerced into believing or thinking. But when you talk and you go walking for Johnny, tell these people, check her record, but check and see if so, okay, she voted against something, but it passed, 80%, they didn't need her vote.
Yeah.
So we've got to get a voice there. I'm not in your district anymore, but I really want you to win. And it's very, very important, so thank you.
I second that. We also need to get Mike back in the office. So what an unfair advantage to follow Mike and John. I'll be brief. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Roman Klein. I was elected to the SREC at the state convention. If you were there, you had a chance to vote for me. Those of you that did, I appreciate that. And for you that don't know anything about the SREC is the governing body for the Republican Party for the state of Texas. And there are 2 representatives from every SD. I'm one, there's a male and a female from every senatorial district. There are 31 senatorial districts in the state. So there's 62 of us, plus the state chair and the state vice chair form the governing body for the party. SD 17 is made up of 8 counties now. It used to be there were really only 3 counties that were part of SD 17, and because of redistricting last year, Joan Huffman had a big hand in doing that. We now are part of 8 counties. Harris County represents about 35% of SD 17. So the other 7 counties make up the rest. The 3 biggest counties are Fort Bend County and Brazoria County. So our first meeting isn't until September, the middle of September, so I don't know much yet. And, but I can say that I have been requested to be on the Legislative Priorities Committee, or the Election Integrity Committee, or the Resolutions Committee. The chairman is going to appoint that before our first meeting, and then I'll find out what committee I'm going to be on. I really would like to be on the Legislative Priorities Committee. Spent a lot of time with the legislators, and I've got a decent amount of experience in doing that. So in the meantime, we're being requested to help in some cases to encourage legislators to attend meetings. There's a big summit coming up, a border summit, that's being conducted by Bob Hall, Senator Bob Hall, and we're trying to encourage all the legislators to go and attend that meeting. Going to have a lot of great speakers, and there's just a lot to be done, as you know, on the border. Also, in the meantime, it's my plan to meet as many legislators as I can in the district. I don't even know how many are in our district yet. I'm working on trying to get a complete list because of all the redistricting. The borders have changed, and people are in different areas that I don't know about yet. I'm available to help any of you between now and whenever. The big work to be done is going to be in association with the legislative session coming up. So there'll be a lot of information that'll be passed around about hearings and help that you can provide if you would hope to go and testify in Austin. So you may be getting some emails from me to give you requests to do some of those things. If you need me for anything, just email me or call me. My email address is rklein42@swbell.net, and you can call me on my cell phone anytime, 703-927-3614. Thank you.
So, who do you think the best canvasser is in Harris County? Anybody got an idea? Well, I read an article. We don't always read Houston Chronicle. Anyway, I read an article. Harris County looking into GOP connected group, asking residents to confirm their voter addresses.
It's spooky.
Our next speaker, Steve Carlin, is that man, along with Larry Hudson that did his driving for him. So, Steve, would you join us?
Don't take a second. I'm an IT guy. It's okay. You're safe.
Uh-oh. I've heard that.
Oh my goodness.
Here comes the Steve is the coordinator, region coordinator for Region 2, in which you are sitting. Okay? And there's a number of the folks that, like Felicia Craig and so forth, that James is Region 1. That's the next step over.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
So, I'm glad to be here as opposed to out in the neighborhoods. Spent a whole lot of time in the neighborhoods around Houston trying to address this issue of cleaning up our voter rolls. We've got a big problem with our voter rolls, and thankfully the Ballot Security Committee is doing something about it. And just a quick rundown, if you don't know about it, they orchestrated a voter roll maintenance canvassing project. And they took a look at the voter rolls, and we had to decide what can we do, practically speaking, to go out there and get volunteers to go out and check and see if people who are on the voter rolls at an address actually live there, and if not, to challenge them, right? We have limited volunteers, so we ultimately took a look at the database, and we found single-family homes with six or more registered voters with 3 or more different last names. That was the criteria. If you've seen 2,000 Mules, you know the scenario there where they set their criteria for determining, who was a culprit, and if they drop that criteria just a little bit, they're a little more lenient or less rigorous in their criteria. All of a sudden it went from 2,000 mules to 50,000 mules. Well, we had that same scenario with our voter registration database where it was inconceivable that we had enough volunteers to handle it. Why even try? So we set the criteria at, with this bar right here. That got us to around 3,500 matching addresses in the voter rolls that met that criteria. And within those homes, there are 21,388 registered voters. All right, so that was what we said is our target, to go out and see what we can do to get the job done. Of those, we assigned 3,165 of them. Basically, we had precinct chairs and some number of volunteers. Didn't quite help that we had like the hottest summer in Houston history to have to go deal with this stuff with record gas prices, but that was what it was. So, but we're all about accountability. What did we actually get done? So how many addresses did we get to? We originally thought our initiative was going to be finished now. We found out that per election code, we have 90 days before the upcoming election to actually get registered mail challenges into the Harris County Elections Administrator, and they double checked that, and we got a few more days. So we may still be going and hitting some more homes. There are some people who have more time that are actually still out there canvassing. I had to pull back on the challenges. So out of what we got done, there are almost 8,000 voters that we hit, and of those 8,000 voters, 3,890 voters did not live at the address. So we don't know where they live. All right. So how do we do better? Lessons learned from this thing is, you can't do this as a top-down thing with limited people. This needs to be a grassroots thing that happens 7 days a week, 365 days a year by the people that actually really have a passion for this. We can't all, it's not all our thing, right? Not everybody wants to go and knock on doors and canvass. We didn't have the kind of response rate we wanted to have from precinct chairs, and we had kind of a big concentration where the top canvassers did 66% of the addresses they got canvassed. I'll get to your question one minute. So really, in the end, the big question we all want to know: what difference did we make? Did it make any difference at all? Well, Alan Vera let us know that there was a key Brownsville court ruling that recently came out that we're in a school board ISD election. The loser lost by 8 votes and challenged the certification of the election, saying that they knew that there were more than 8 invalid voters on the voter rolls. A Democratic judge held that was a legitimate complaint and said you can't certify this election because we don't know that was not the case, that these 8 votes were not illegitimate voters. So the supposed winner, the one who thought that he was the winner, challenged, and in the appeals court, another Democratic judge actually upheld the decision. So what does that mean? And that means we now have a court precedent in the state of Texas that says if Alexandra Mueller loses to Lena Hidalgo by fewer than the number of challenged voters that we've identified on the voter rolls as potentially fraudulent, then we have a right to say, no, she didn't. You can't certify that election. So that's ultimately meaningful to us in the scheme of things, right? It gives us a chance to force our way back in there. We also know there must be something going on because Harris County Elections Administrator just mailed out in the last 10 days or so 140,000 requests for voters on the voter rolls to say, you know, are you guys really here anymore? You know? And of course, we just heard that Harris County Elections Administrator was also targeted in another audit by the Secretary of State. So the pressure is on them. They know that people are looking at them, and that feels pretty good to know that while we're out there sweating and watching our backs, that it's actually turning into something. So, yes, sir.
Those people that you found that didn't live there anymore, did any of them voted recently?
That part we didn't get into that yet. We'll have a chance to actually correlate that data. There's a lot more coming. I mean, for example, one of the things that's going to be going on is that entire list of single-family homes, residents from single-family homes, is added to another 4,000 or so names that were identified previously that were shown to be registered at commercial addresses, you know, against code. So we've got almost 10,000 voters that should not be allowed to vote. And once election happens, every day that the votes come in, we're actually set up to be able to look and check who voted against that list and prepare challenges already so that by the time the election's over, we're already ready because we're assuming they're going to cheat and our vote will be ready. Yes. So, yes, ma'am.
So, do you know what happens to these addresses that you found that the people don't live there? So you send that on to who?
Yeah, so earlier we had some canvassers, some precinct chairs who did awesome jobs. James and Lisa, thank you very much. And who else was in there? Derek and Jeb. The declaration, so you go to, we have a system where you
I've seen the system.
Right,
What happens
okay.
to it then?
So now we submit those, you have an affidavit that goes with the no's from your declarations that gets signed and notarized as we just did here. We scan it to keep our own copy, and then it gets mailed, certified mailed to the Harris County Elections Administrator.
So they're supposed to take those people off the roll?
They should go into suspense, right? Because we're saying we have evidence here that says they don't live there anymore, so they should, by definition, they should go into suspense, and they should show up to vote and have to do an SOR.
One of the things I found when I went down my list was I went over into HCAT. So I was just gonna say that if you do this again, or as we do this again, run those through HCAT because then you can start to identify rental properties.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, once I found a rental property, I get in there, and of course, yeah, you could have 10 names, but the guy who's renting it now has nothing to do with the current of that list. So that's, by going through HCAT, you get, who might know that is legitimate, so you know who to ask for.
Right.
Okay? Plus, you can fill if it's a rental property, I know more likely this is gonna be one of bogus names, so.
So our goal is to
for the future.
improve the processes
Right.
and the systems, and make it more automated and simple for people. It's kind of like, I look at it as the people on next door, they're always looking around the neighborhood for suspicious activity. You know, that type of person that's looking around to say so-and-so moved, and they're thinking voter integrity, they need to be empowered with simple tools to be able to go challenge it.
Okay, was that
One more
question?
question, can you clarify these people that are put on suspense, can they still go vote, they can still vote?
They are left as active voters.
Okay.
You know, so
they
they're in
have to
the
fill out a
e-book.
form or something?
Yeah, but they would have to change it.
Steve, is there a plan for like the next phase?
Is there, I'm not sure what exactly the next phase is, but I know,
It's like another iteration, like maybe different criteria.
I think the real focus is gonna be pushing it down to the precinct level and finding people in the precincts that wanna take it on an ongoing basis.
So Steve is actually number 2, Harris County-wide canvasser. If he didn't have to spend so much time on the precinct, he would have been number 1. Next, I want to introduce you to a lady that, well, I spent 17 and a half years working with Nancy Scott, the multi-time outstanding precinct chair of Harris County.
Amen.
Reagan's was the precinct chair. Felicia said to me, why don't you become the precinct chair and let me take care of the elections? And so I did. So the last 5 years, I was precinct chair for 509, and then they came along with this redistricting, and they split Felicia and myself. I'm still 509. She was in 1054. Felicia's a wise woman. She did the same thing again. She asked Steve Collin to become the chairperson for 1054, and she's still handling the elections. And she is the HCRP parliamentarian. She's a parliamentarian for the SD 17 and much, much more. Help me welcome Felicia Green.
Now you just exposed me as a work shirker. Thanks. No, we call it outsourcing. That's what we've done. So really quickly, because I know we are winding up, I have been thinking a lot about the fact that we have 29 precincts that don't have anybody in them. How can we hit those quickly? If there's no precinct chair, how can we get a lot of people, I guess, motivated that are only every 4-year voters? Cindy was talking at the organizational meeting, Siegel, thank you. My gosh, it went right out of my head because I opened my mouth. Cindy Siegel was talking about 700,000 people came out for Trump in 2020 in Harris County. And that was about how many people in 2018 came out for Beto. I don't think Beto's gonna get that this time. I don't think the Democrats are gonna get that. In 2018, it was a special case. This is our year. And her stress was, we need to hit those 700,000 people and make them come back. I don't know how many people we have active, but here's what I'm thinking. Something that we can do to fill some of the gaps for vacant precincts or places where we just haven't found those folks yet that were voting in 2020, maybe never voted before, and then decided to vote and then stayed home for the primary. Didn't come out this time. We need them back if we're gonna win. And if we get them, we've got this. So here's what I'm thinking. You've all seen these, right? This sort of stuff comes to who? Comes to people who are reliably Republican voters. We've all seen these. They all look the same after a while to us. And they're so polished. And yes, I keep these because I have a friend who designs pieces and I give him stuff like that, and it's for that in another place. But what I thought, what if we printed the sample ballots for all the people who were only every 4-year, voters, and encourage them to come out with a personal letter? And Lisa and I have been talking about this, and we've both crafted letters to people in our neighborhoods that we can really quickly hit them with some tempting thing. And this is my format. It looks really cheap, inexpensive, but it's a zip bag. Dear neighbor letter visible in here. Once the sample ballots are ready and actually up on the site for the neighborhoods, we print one, stick it in the bag with the letter, and if we have precincts that we can't cover, we could cover by hanging them on a door like this without knocking in about a day per precinct with a couple of people doing it. So this catches those people that would otherwise fall through the cracks. If we do that, and it's personal, you can give, like, I've got my email and phone number on here so we can collect more emails from people who want to know more. It's a really quick thing, and this is the program that I want to start launching. So just to say that if you are interested, here's why. This is super low cost, super cheap. It looks like nothing else that you're going to see that hits your door. It's personal. This is how you start building relationships fast, quickly. We can fill those precincts, as I said, that don't have chairs. Until we recruit somebody, this is a good stopgap to hit them without taking too much time away from the precincts that do have chairs that they can cover. And scalable. You can do as many or as few. And the main thing that I want to stress with this is something we can entrust a first-time volunteer to who's never done anything. They're maybe intimidated about going places and knocking on doors. This is an easy way to get. This is the entryway drug. This is the gateway drug. So Lisa and I can still work on some more. When we get the sample ballots, I'm gonna have Gail send out an email to you guys so that you can, like, if you need to borrow some wording, we can do that. I might even tap Judy on this too. Judy writes, I know that. So this would be a way to quickly cover things, because we've got 2 months until mail ballots hit, and we've got less than 4 months until the big day. And with all that said, once those sample ballots hit, we are keeping the ground running. I just wanted you to know this is gonna be on deck to get people involved.
When will the sample ballots hit?
We don't know, that's out of the county. Now, we can kind of make our own if they never come up with it, but it will not probably be very complete yet. So what I did is I stuck one of the GOP flyers with the judges' information in here too. Stuck that in there, so they'll have some more information like that as well. Did you have something?
Do you have any idea how many Republican voters are in those 29 precincts?
I can tell you how many Republican voters. I have that data in, as far as who voted in the primary and the runoff, and I can give you any of that, but I don't have it with me. This is the night I left that spiral. But yeah,
Size of the effort.
even in precincts that didn't have chairs, the Republicans, 80% of those precincts that didn't have chairs, the Republicans still did far better in turnout than Democrats in the primary and the runoff. So.
Would it be a good idea to put on something about if your precinct doesn't have a precinct chair, if you're interested? go ahead.
Absolutely. If you've got a precinct that's empty and that we're working, we can put that. If you want to get more involved, if you're interested, we can put that in the letter. As long as, and plus, they're not going to throw it away like they're going to throw away the lawn flyer. There's stuff on here. They're going to read that through the bag. They may never open it, but you'll get it this way. And then maybe they will open it after that. So, anybody else have anything real quick? Because I'm done.
This is a photo moment here. By the way, let me take the pictures.
Oh, I couldn't.
With this in the background.
Oh.
So, when they split 509, they gave me all of the apartments, and then they gave Felicia and Steve all of the houses.
You don't have to walk so much.
Well,
Less walking for you.
when Bill Eli was trying to accomplish the feat of getting those 3 new trustees elected to the Cy-Fair Independent School District, I told him about Mass Texas, and he used that as a major tool for that. When Roman Klein was running for the SREC, he used the Mass Texas. Denver Fight used that. Newell Cheatham used that for his local precinct. Check it out. It costs 2.5 cents to send out a text, but 90% of texts are read within 5 minutes. Only 1 out of 17 emails gets read. I know because I send out thousands of emails and I keep track of who opened the emails. Check it out. It may be beneficial to you.
Oh, can you put that?
Question, yes.
I just want to get, all I need is the last word.
Take a picture. It's gonna be, we're recording this session, and, we had a couple of blips, but we're recording the session, and so, when we get the recording to you, you'll have all the information in it. Okay. We've got 88 days until people start voting. Less than 3 months. We've accomplished a lot in the last 19 days, but we need to ramp it up. And we need your help. And James will probably get together with his regional coordinators for a few minutes after we finish here. But you need to be working with them, and let's see if we can't win There's County faculty. I told you about August the 4th, there's a meeting of John Douglas will be at, and who else is speaking?
We've got, is it Lily Trom?
Oh, Lily Trom will be
Lily
speaking.
Trom's gonna be there, Russ Long, should be coming,
So you got OPS and OHPS, and you got HCRP.
yeah, and then Sarah Singleton may be, coming and talking, and they're trying to recruit folks to, help the judges. So
Excellent.
We'll have
Okay.
a slate of folks talking.
So if you're in this area, this is what should be happening in each one of your precincts, in each one of these regions. Exactly like this, duplicated. I saw Dave Blankenfield pacing in the back. I try to get him to sit down because he always disrupts me while he's walking back and forth. This is, the, group that he we sent out a survey. What type of response did we get from that survey?
We are still getting responses.
Still getting them?
Yes, yesterday, we've still been getting responses. One thing though, if you have this if you have this survey, in your email, in your inbox or something, and you have taken it, if you haven't taken it, take it. If you have, you could start sending that out to people in your precinct, maybe on your email list. Let's start reminding people, letting them know we want to know what they want to do and what they feel like they're good at. So let's share that around. And then next meeting, we'll have a report on it.
Did that come from your email?
It did.
I sent it out to everybody, okay? Should I send it again?
Why not?
I will send it again if it just slipped through one of those 16 other emails that didn't get read.
I may fill it out,
All
I
right.
can't remember.
That just came out. I don't know how many of you received that. This is from Harris County. They're asking for people to find polling places.
Yeah.
If you can believe that.
Okay.
We had them, they didn't take them before.
Precinct chairs in my district, and Felicia, when we're done, if you could come over here for like 3 minutes, we need to, I'm sitting down with cable people tomorrow, they're gonna put their request in. And I need any suggestions y'all have before you go tonight.
So, this was the speakers, I guess that's the end of it.
Yeah. We gotta have postponed.
I get these messages from Bob Simotet all the time.
Yeah.
It's apropos. Yes, come on up.
Hey, so y'all don't know me, I'm John Douglas, I'm the digital media director. I live on the other side of Harris County over by Lake Houston. So it's going on a little too long for me, so I don't mean to interrupt. But basically, I just say a few things about Campaign Sidekick. If you do not have a Campaign Sidekick account, you can email me at john.douglas@harriscountygop.com. Tell me your precinct number. I'll send your data to our data guy. We'll pull it. I'll make you an account, and that way you can start blocking in your precinct. If you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me, call me, text me.
And we get together with people after we come see John.
John's leaving.
Okay?
Well, so is it just for precinct chairs or folks that within our precinct that we work with, or they just bump those through?
So right now we're just doing it for precinct chairs and block captains. So if you have someone who's going to be a block captain, we're willing to train them. Yes, sir.
Does the data include the independent voters, or is
It's hard R's, weak R's, and independent voters. Yes, sir.
they do? Okay.
I'm gonna introduce the next red.
Hey guys, Nolan Schultz, I'm the volunteer director. I've been working with Bonnie Foster. We have a new program we're rolling out, Adopt a Precinct. So it's 200 high voter turnout independent precincts that don't have a precinct chair. Bonnie's filtering through, and we just got all the data from our data guy, Alex Lucas. We've identified these precincts, and we are gonna ask for volunteers to either adopt the precinct, become a precinct chair, or find someone that will become a precinct chair. Because if we can fill up 200 precincts in the next 30 to 60 days, those are gonna be highly active people, they're gonna be canvassing and block walking. We have a block walk preliminary this Saturday out of HQ. If you are free, if you never used Campaign Sidekick, it's a great opportunity to come. Cindy will be there, our executive director, Casey will be there. John will be there driving all the way from Lake Houston for a couple hours. But it's a great way to shake off any cobwebs, get to know the app, and knock some doors, win some wars with us. Yes, sir.
Locations?
It's gonna be HCRP headquarters, which is 8588. I can put this all in an email too. I can leave some cards. I'll give you my card and I'll just send an email. Yeah, Gail's got all my information, so I have a few cards right here. But it's right off I-10 and Bingle Road. Yeah, Bingle Road, yeah. Yep. And I don't want to take any more of y'all's time. Reach out to me anytime you guys need anything as far as volunteers, grassroots. Here to help. Let's win this thing.
Meeting's gonna be in the main conference room.
Yeah, downstairs. Yeah, and I think Abbott is going to be running a little block walk out of there too. So they're going to go do their thing. We're just going to do ours. Great. Thank you guys. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for everything you're doing. We're going to win big.
I have to note that the Governor Abbott election form is finished on the internet. I'm sorry you missed it. But I want to thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. And the next one will be August the 18th. Put it on your calendar right now. Bayland Community Center, a little closer to John Douglas. We've got a few minutes left to be in the venue, so if you'd like to do a little bit more networking, and James, if you'll get together with your regional directors for just a minute, and we'll get them off. So Neil.
Let me turn it on.